The way we look at our business and the fact that we are in the financial services space, probably the only one truly independent, global, and family controlled. I think what we learned was a number of things. This industry needed to be regulated.
Yeah.
Probably it then became a little bit too regulated, but that's for another conversation. Yes, I think investors, companies that really have the ability to act and think long term have a huge advantage. So Germany has always a very special place, for the family, because that's where the roots of the family started. So it's obviously a market where, we've always been there, we will always be there, and we will always continue to invest in Germany.
Liebe Community, dieses Video ist im September 2025 auf der My Way entstanden, unserem großen Zukunftsgipfel für Wirtschaft und Familienunternehmen. Wenn ihr mehr interessante Interviews und Keynotes davon sehen wollt, dann abonniert doch einfach unseren My Way-Kanal und lasst ein Like da. Herzlichen Dank dafür und jetzt viel Spaß beim Anschauen. So, in our next session, we will hear from Gabor Steingart and Alexandre de Rothschild. Thank you.
So, big applause for Alexandre de Rothschild. So, we decided to go for the big one. Alexandre, you are comfortable with this?
Very comfortable with the big one.
Perfect. Just arrived from Paris and started how early in the morning?
Woke up at 5 and left home at 5:30.
5:30 he left his small home of the Rothschild family, living outside Paris.
No, inside Paris.
Inside Paris. Who else started at 5 o'clock this morning, or between 5 and 6? Yeah. So you are not alone, Alexandre. You are not alone. So let's talk about your business, about your personality. I think we are all excited to learn more about this family, about the big family tradition. So first of all, Alexandre, tell us, what does this family tradition means for you personally? Is it an inspiration, or is it sometimes at night when you try to sleep also a burden?
I think you said it perfectly. It's obviously a little bit of both. I'm a member of the 7th generation of the family, so a lot has happened before me. And I feel certainly when I look at the business as a custodian. So I'm here to do my best, surrounded by a very talented individual. We're a people's business, and I'm fortunate to have amazing people around me. But I'm here to do what's right for this period in order to leave something hopefully very successful for the next generation. So actually, you're right in saying that it is a combination of a privilege, of course, but also a lot of responsibility.
What is the core of this Rothschild family for you?
Well, the core of the core, it's, for the way we look at our business and the fact that we are in the financial services space, probably the only one truly independent, global, and family controlled. And I think we have managed to do that for a number of reasons, but I would really insist on the quality of the individuals, the people, the employees that we have in the firm. And we've always privileged a partnership culture as opposed to what a number of companies do, which is very much a pyramid. Someone sits on top of the pyramid, and a lot of other people work for this individual at the top. We see ourselves as being in partnership with the people that we work with.
But you are the CEO.
I am indeed.
So you are here in the pyramid.
Indeed, but I think a lot of CEOs, I'm sure in the room, would agree that my main job is to do what the people that I work with want me to do. So I have the impression that I'm working for them and not the other way around, which might surprise you, but I'm promising you it's the truth.
And what is the core of your personality? What would you say? How does it match with the family? The family is one thing, it's big, and it's old, it's traditional. But let's talk about yourself.
Well, about myself. So I think, obviously, you inherit a number of things, and then you have your own personality, and you are probably a blend of both. I think what I've inherited from my parents and my grandparents before that, is this notion of hard work, of being fully committed to what we do professionally, and being very humble. Because again, I think if you feel that you're entitled because your name is on the door and therefore you are allowed to have a job and to have a senior position within the company, I think that's a recipe for disaster. So when I started in the business, which is a bit more than 15 years ago, first of all, I had worked outside for 6 years, which was essential to bring my own experience, my own sort of training. And when I started in the family business, I started right at the bottom. And I sort of climbed, progressively, always knowing that the direction of travel was to potentially one day be at the helm of the firm, but it was by no means a guarantee.
It was not a given thing.
It was not given. It would only happen if I felt that the system accepted me. And what do I mean by the system? It's the stakeholders. It's obviously the people you work with, and we have, as you know, in an investment bank, a lot of very high quality people who are very opinionated. So if they didn't want me to come around, I would have felt that very quickly. But it's also the clients, it's also the partners with whom you work. So
and you have been outside Paris and outside France during this kind of education. You worked also at Wall Street?
Yes, I started in Wall Street, working for a bank called Bear Stearns, which unfortunately didn't survive the financial crisis. But I was there before, so I had nothing to do with the mess ultimately.
And you're learning?
And I was learning there as an investment banker in the early 2000s.
What was your learning during this crisis, which brought a lot of financial institutions to their knees?
Sure. I think what we learned was a number of things. This industry needed to be regulated.
Yeah.
Probably it then became a little bit too regulated, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah.
And I think
You have to know, we all don't love this word regulation. We think we have too much.
I share this with you, Gabor.
You share this. In France, you know what I'm talking about. We are partners in burden if it comes to regulation. So, but you learn some regulation is healthy for the financial market, otherwise the gamblers take over.
That's right.
What else?
No, I think if you look at our business model today, we do advice, and we do it, I believe, with a very trustworthy driver of being long-term, of doing what's right for our clients, not being obsessed by doing the next deal. And we do that in investment banking, we do that in wealth management, and we also have an investment businesses, which is an alternative assets platform, which is where I started when I joined the business in 2008. So it's, I would say it's pretty simple. It's three businesses that complement themselves quite well within another. We have obviously a lot of families as clients, a lot of corporates, entrepreneurs, private equity funds. We work for a few governments, but we do things which are, at the end of the day, relatively, straightforward, pragmatic, and we try to stay away from what's fancy in finance. And
you're really independent, I learned, and you delisted your company, your bank from the stock market. So you have to explain. A lot of people think that's a great thing to be at the stock market because there's a lot of cash and you can influence people maybe much easier because you're in a regular communication with the market and the market participants. But you delisted your company. Why?
So for us, this was a very important milestone. It happened exactly 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So we now have the benefit of the experience of being a private company. I mean, first of all, we had never really decided to be public in the first place. It was a heritage. As some of you may know, the French bank had been nationalized in '81 when the socialists came to power. So, Mitterrand. So for my grandfather, this was really, the end of his professional career, and it was an opportunity for my father to restart from scratch.
Yeah.
And he restarted the business using a company which was then listed. But as we looked at it much later, we felt that as a family business, with a very sort of strong shareholding in the hands of the family, there was much more burden than advantages in being a public company. And at the same time, we also felt we were somewhat in contradiction with what we spend a lot of time saying to our clients, which is to think long-term, to invest long-term. And then we were sort of caught back by the reality of the quarterly pressures, if you will. So for all that reason, and we felt that it was the right time to sort of bring back the shareholding around the family, the partners of the firm, which became significant shareholders with 10%, and a few like-minded international families. So it doesn't change our day-to-day so much, but it's clearly a sort of new energy boost, I would say, within the company.
You saved a lot of time.
We save a lot of time, and we can look at our challenges, at the opportunities that we have in front of us, at the strategy and of each of our businesses with a really long-term view. And that's, I think, a huge luxury in
There's a
current environment.
famous saying, numbers don't lie. Especially in financial business, numbers don't lie. So if you compare your numbers at the stock market and the time after the delisting, what do you learn from this comparison?
Well, we have managed to grow the three businesses that we operate from when we were, a public company until now. So financially, the company has continued to grow. But I would say that, besides number, it's really the fact that we have the partners, and in a people's business, it's so important to create alignment of interest and to have the key sort of partners of your firm, substantial shareholders alongside you, as well as having a number of families. Some are based in the US, most of them are based in Europe, who are really looking at how can we grow this company collectively for the long term.
But there was not a push in the growth rate?
No.
That was also not on your mind when you have done this?
That was not the driver, no.
You say that you're more looking for the long term. On the other side, I often think that the stock market is really on the short term, and a lot of investors as well are oriented in the short term profits, in the short term perception of the company. So do you think it's really a good time for long-time thinking?
Yes, I think investors, companies that really have the ability to act and think long-term have a huge advantage.
Why?
Particularly because, as you said, the markets we're experiencing now, due to the geopolitics that has been increasingly difficult for the past couple of years, the markets are very volatile. And because of this volatility, if you are short-term minded, you're probably led to make decisions that are quite, high risk. Having said that, if you're able to know where you want to go and have the luxury of being able to sustain, market volatility on the long run, I think, there's a lot of history shows that you're much better off if you're able to, not react to the very short-term volatility of the market.
So you are not a day trader. Also, not as a person, you're not a day trader?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Warren Buffett was very openly communicating about his portfolio, about his stocks, which he loves more than others. I would like to learn more about your love brands at the stock market. Are you invested in the major tech companies of the United States, and what are your favorites in France?
So you'd be very surprised that we have an approach to investing which is pretty conservative, which goes back to very basic principles.
That's what I expected from a Rothschild. Then you're not a day trader.
High diversification.
Yeah.
So don't put all your eggs into the same basket. Obviously, you need to be exposed to equity, and within the equity portfolio, tech has been a booming sector and will continue to, create a lot of growth. So obviously, you need to have some exposure into tech, but not only. And besides, equities, you also need to have, a bond portfolio, structured products. We're very keen on private equity. We think as an asset class, it has performed extremely well over many, many cycles. And we like also diversification in real estate, in sort of real assets. So, nothing which...
Okay, so your portfolio looks different from Warren Buffett's portfolio, which is mainly based on Apple, or was it?
I think, we have a lot to learn from him because he's the shrewdest investor out there, but we have an approach which is highly diversified. And we do it for ourselves, and we've applied the same recipe as what we did for our family for 7th generation for our clients. So I think the clients who join us, in the wealth management business, they like the fact that we're going to be managing their portfolio exactly the same way we've done it for ourselves.
Is it possible for you as a person to meet with the big players in Silicon Valley, with Tom Cook and others? Are you meeting these persons in a one-to-one session, or is it too far away?
No, it's not too far away. We actually have an office in San Francisco, and we have a lot of bankers who are only specialized in technology. So we do meet a lot of the tech investors, a lot of the venture funds, a lot of the companies in tech, and we try to learn from them, of course.
Is it a bubble?
I wouldn't say, categorically that it is a bubble. I think the markets at the current point in time, because of all of the volatility, because of the fact that the geopolitical environment is very difficult, and they have stayed, by and large, quite expensive, I would be quite cautious, when looking at the next couple of months, and I think we're bound to see more volatility.
You would be more cautious?
More cautious.
Because the market is going up the whole time, even if we have not just the war in Europe, we are living through a time of uncertainty. You mentioned this, and sometimes I ask myself whether the stock market is so in love with itself. A lot of these investments in a world of uncertainty, whether it play out a good role for the investors or not. So you say you are cautious.
I'm an optimist by nature, so I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. I think, if you go back again to very basic principles of diversification within asset class, within sectors, within geographies, I think you'll do well, despite the sort of volatility and market turmoil.
Private equity, give us some flavor. What does it mean for you as a bank, private equity? You are the manager bringing people together, family businesses together, or you are buying and the owner of family businesses?
So private equity is very important for us. We operate funds ourselves in which we are very substantial investors. The group, the shareholders, the teams investing those funds invest very substantial amounts of capital themselves, and then we raise third-party capital from clients who are family offices, entrepreneurs, institutions, sovereign wealth funds, pension funds. So that's a big business for us. We invest in corporate private equity, in secondaries, and in debt. In debt, we cover all of the spectrum, from the CLOs to the direct lending, and we also sort of provide funds to our investors in private banking, which are not all internal funds. So we're very comfortable with an open architecture in saying, this is an amazing fund in the Nordics, this is an amazing fund, in the US, and we've selected for XYZ reason, and we sort of distribute it into the private banking network.
How do you look at Germany, at the medium-sized and small-sized family-owned businesses? What's your take on that?
So Germany has always a very special place, for the family, because that's where the roots of the family started. So it's obviously a market where, we've always been there, we will always be there, and we will always continue to invest in Germany. I think as far as the mid-sized companies are concerned in Germany, I would say that if I compare them to France, which I know better, there's been less transactions in Germany than in France. The French equivalent of the Mittelstand has been more transacted by private equity, for instance, where in Germany there's hugely attractive companies, a lot of family-owned businesses, of course, but I think they've been less open to M&A, to allowing outside investors sort of join themselves. And so that's a question.
But why is it so? Why is it so?
I think they've been very successful without having the need to bring outside investors.
And some experiences are not so nice?
That must be one reason, but also probably for the willingness to really keep the companies at all costs in the hands of the family. And I think that's an experience that we have now lived, of sometimes preferring having outside investors that you choose for very specific reasons, to having only members of your family, some of whom you may not get along well with. So in a way, I'd prefer having partners who are outside, again, that I was able to choose, than if I had all of my family members, some of which I did not choose, that could make the life more difficult. So I think there is a balance to find here.
There's a lot of talk, even if it comes to the big corporation and the big financial institutions, about pan-European mergers. We have seen the attack on Commerzbank. We see all the visionary thinking in the towers of the Deutsche Bank. Do you think this could be for family-owned businesses as well, the question of the next decade, to have pan-European mergers with other family-owned businesses in France, in Spain, in Italy, to make ourselves bigger, stronger, and more European?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think obviously everything needs to be looked at, on a case by case. But I think that if you look at Europe and you take a bit of a step back, Europe is going through a difficult time. But at the same time, there's a lot of opportunities. There are very strong fundamentals, in Germany, we're talking about Germany. And I think the ability to be open-minded to how can strategic combination make local players stronger, more international, is something that needs to be considered and needs to be on the agenda. Obviously, having said that, I think the bar needs to be very high, because all of these transactions come with risk. They can often look very good on a piece of paper because there is a very strong industrial logic.
Yeah.
But when you make the execution, the culture, the personalities, the psychology, the emotions get into the mix and can create disaster. So our recommendation, if I can, would be to be very agile, to entertain a lot of discussion, to be very open-minded to meeting people, being very open-minded to considering transacting with foreign investors, making combination with international players, but keeping the bar very high, again, for it's better not to do a deal than to do a bad deal, for sure.
So to be agile, but also skeptical, with a kind of optimistic skepticism about the opportunities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You have seen German companies from the inside. You know some of our famous family businesses.
We have a big team here doing wealth management in Germany as well as advisory.
But you as a person.
So I have been seeing a lot of our clients here, corporates, family businesses, entrepreneurs, families. So yes, it's an important market for us, of course.
And Media Pioneer, you are the guest of Media Pioneer, is also a kind of family-owned business.
Absolutely.
We have 50 family-owned businesses which are part of our company as well, like Roland Berger and others, Sophia von Rundstedt, they are partners here. So I like your partnership approach. Tell us more, how to become a Rothschild partner.
How to become a Rothschild partner?
Yeah.
Working in the company?
Yeah.
Well, we have about 140 partners out of 4,600 employees in total across the three businesses. So that's the 140 is across advisory, wealth management, and private equity. And we're very proud that most of the partners have joined us when they were very young, and they have stayed in the company. They've been very loyal, and a lot of them have been there for 20, 25, 30, 35, even sometimes more years. And so I think they have found an environment where we try and really privilege an entrepreneurial culture. So we let a lot of freedom to our senior colleagues to be very commercial, to sort of go out there and try and get business. And we try and avoid being, as much as possible bureaucratic, sort of driven by compliance, by regulation. So I think we try to promote a partnership culture which hopefully makes people, happy and energized when they work over here.
So you have expanded the Rothschild family through these partners, outside partners. You are not just relying on the family.
Correct.
And on the opportunity of birth.
That's right.
Interesting. And you are sure that your company will be alive in 10 or 20 years if it comes to AI? So a lot of people, there's a lot of talk, and we will listen later on this stage as well, a lot of talk that AI could maybe take over a lot of services, a lot of client relationship management as well, and also the investment, the workflow of the investment itself. So what do you think about AI as a kind of killer for traditionally financial institutions like Rothschild?
Yeah. Well, for us, it's actually quite simple. We think it's a huge opportunity. It's one that we have to embrace fully. It's one where we have to invest substantially in order to be fit, but with an answer that is not exactly the same from one business to another. So what do I mean by that? If you look at the advisory business, where it's just about people, delivering the best possible advice to clients, there's a lot of trust involved, there's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of human sort of, characteristics, which we don't believe will be disrupted tomorrow morning by AI. Having said that, we employ a lot of talented junior people that have amazing brain, and the industry has such sort of weakness that we ask these people to do tasks which sometimes are quite mundane, and that can be replaced by AI. So our belief, which we're experimenting now, is that we can enhance and make the experience of our junior bankers much better by having an AI machine that can do things in a much more efficient way. So we'll improve efficiency and productivity, but it won't be a replacement of those sorts of discussion. So in the investment businesses, it's a bit different. Obviously, you need to have, for the experience of your clients as well as the experience of the team, a lot more automated processes, and that's where
maybe it's an advantage for smaller. 5,000 people are a lot, but it's small if it comes to JP Morgan, Chase, or Deutsche Bank and others. Maybe it's an advantage for smaller boutique-like companies.
We're mindful of that because at the same time we don't have the ability to invest as much as the JP Morgans of this world. So we are trying to be very fast followers, but we can't innovate in AI, make our own sort of revolutionary solutions for ourselves, completely tailor-made. So we're being quite careful because we think that even with a 200-year-old history, you can be disrupted. So you have to stay quite agile on your feet.
Last question, how old you are?
How old am I?
How old you are?
45 in December.
45 in December. So how you're looking like you're a sportsman, you're in a good shape.
Like you, Gabor.
I do my best, even if I'm a little bit older. But give us a sense of feeling, how do you make yourself fit for the business, for the day? 5 o'clock in the morning, you woke up and came to Germany, to Berlin. So tell us something about sport and the things you are doing to stay tuned.
So it's quite simple. I have 3 things in life which keeps me incredibly busy.
Alcohol?
My family. And I'm the very happy father of 4 boys. Started with 1 and 2, made a break for 5 years. We really wanted to have a girl, and we had twins, boys. So clearly diversity was not something that we were successful at home. So family, of course. Work.
4 boys is tough.
It is quite tough. Work, which obviously keeps me very busy. We are very decentralized in our organization. So we have presence in more than 50 countries, but in a lot of those countries we have small offices with 20, 30 people. And for some of them, they feel quite far away from headquarters. So I feel that my responsibility is to go and see as much as possible colleagues around the world, spend time with them, spend time with their clients. So I do quite a lot of that. And then I have a passion, which is horse riding. And I do show jumping competitively. So I train on the weekend, I compete on the weekend, and I try to do these 3 things as much as possible.
Okay, and your biggest success so far was horse riding?
I was 3rd in the French championship at the professional level in 2012, so it dates back a little bit. But that was an accomplishment for someone who doesn't do it professionally.
André, very sympathetic, very professional. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you, Gabor. Thank you very much.
Wish you all the best. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Liebe YouTube-Zuschauer, wenn euch dieses Video informiert, inspiriert und auch unterhalten hat, dann lasst uns doch gerne einen Kommentar da und sagt uns, welche Gäste ihr euch auch bei künftigen My Way-Events wünscht. Apropos, die My Way 2026 findet am 23. und 24. September wieder im Berliner Westhafen statt. Und wenn ihr live dabei sein wollt, den Ticketlink findet ihr hier unten in den Shownotes. Bis ganz bald, eure Chelsea.